welcome to Coffee with Chris. Every Friday at 10 a.m., I bring you all the great coffee news. We talk about coffee tastings when we do a little bit of a coffee review of some sort here. And then we also talk about everything hot shots. So welcome. If you guys are new here, I do this every Friday at around 10 a.m. It's almost 10:20 now, and I apologize about that. I was having some computer issues. You know, no matter how well you build something and you put it together, it always surprises you. So if you guys are out there and you know about computers, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, we're here. We've made it. I was really scared there for a second. I was thinking I might have to postpone this whole thing. But it worked out, and I am here. So hopefully you guys can all hear me. Let's just see here. I'm assuming you can. But I always like to check and just make sure that my sound is coming in. So I hope you guys are doing well today for Friday. It hopefully is going very, very well. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I cued you guys in a little bit earlier in the week. We were talking about, actually 2 weeks ago, if you remember, I mentioned that Dunkin' Donuts, or Dunkin' Coffee, whatever you want to call it, has come out with a cereal. And I was looking all over the place for this cereal. And Liz, my fiance, she actually even looked up online and it said like there was none of the cereal within 200 miles or whatever plus from where we live. And so I was getting hopeless. I was like, yeah, probably not going to see this cereal for a while. And sure enough, the Walmart that's by our shop, that's where I found the Nitro. If you've seen any of my videos, you guys on YouTube surely have. But one of my most popular videos is actually Ready Whip's Nitro and sweet cream toppings. And so I did a review on that a while ago, but that is where I originally found that. And then, of course, now I have found the Dunkin' Donut cereal, and that is what we are going to review today. I know I normally review a coffee or something. I still have my coffee, and hopefully you guys have your coffee too. You know, every Friday we always start with a coffee. Normally we talk about what it is. I can pretty much have you guys guess what's in here. It begins with an L and ends in a Z. So, but it's very good. It's my go-to. Obviously, it's Hot Shots' go-to. So we got that. I hope you have a coffee if you're watching this. You're going to need it in a good way if you're not awake yet. So let's talk about these cereals. So I found these cereals, Dunkin' Caramel Macchiato, which looks very delicious. And then I also got this Dunkin' Mocha Latte. And just the visual aspect of this, I think marketing-wise, these things look great. They pop in the store. They look really fantastic. I like the pretty much here. I'm going to bring this over here, make it a little bit better. But basically, I don't know if you can see that. It looks like a latte and cereal. Now, I've already opened these up. I've already kind of taken an initial look at the cereal. I'm going to put these boxes right there, and then we'll go over those boxes in a second. But I've basically looked at the cereal, and actually, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what this looks like. I don't even know if these are going to come in really well. But let's take a look at these visuals, just to give you an idea. Wow, these are horrible. I thought these were better than this. Okay, so basically these are just pictures I pulled off the internet. They're very, very low quality for some reason, but I am not going to let you guys suffer by looking at that. But at least you can kind of see what the actual cereal looks like. To me, it's kind of funny. Our dogs eat the little kibbles and, stuff like that. It reminds me of that. But it's, I don't want to gross anyone out. It doesn't smell like that or anything like that. But we're going to taste it here and just start there. So this one I have here, and you can see kind of what it looks like. The first, my first impressions, I will tell you, one of the things that disappoint me is that like these little pieces here are supposed to be like the milk in a latte, I'm assuming is what it's supposed to be. And then you have a majority of these, which, like I said, looks like little bits of kibble. And, that would be my first gripe about this from opening the box and pouring the cereal in, is that there's not a lot of these, but there's a lot of these. And I don't know. I just feel like if you were going to make a latte, why is there more coffee than there is milk? Which, I mean, it makes sense. There should be more coffee if you're making an iced latte or whatever you're doing. But normally, if you're making a latte, you're doing a shot of espresso that's about this big, and the rest is your dairy. And, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Especially most Americans, we drink, Starbucks and these other lattes. We get the ventis. We get these big coffees. And I can promise you this, there might be an ounce and a half at most of espresso in that thing, unless you're doing like quad shots or something crazy. But even then, you're going to still have probably more milk than your Irish espresso. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't think that through. But there's more technically, unless there's dairy in this. To me, there's more coffee than there is latte in this. So let's try it, shall we? We got some milk here. I'm going to just pour. I'm going to start with this one. This is the caramel macchiato. So let's start with just a little bit. I'll put a little bit of milk in here. Oh, that looks beautiful. Okay. Now, you can't have a coffee cereal without a little bit of half and half. So you got to put a little bit of half and half in there just to, spruce it up. So that's what I'm going to try. Let's see what this tastes like. Okay, I gotta admit that's very good. And so I'm trying not to chew in front of the mic. It's probably really unappealing. First impressions. So let me first say, I'm not someone that sits down and eats cereal. Even as a kid, I never ate a ton of different cereal. I didn't wake up every morning and have a bowl of cereal. So I would first say that it's very, very good. It's very sweet. The flavors, I think, are there. You have a hint of the coffee. You definitely taste the mocha. Like I said, I would like it, like Lucky Charms, right? The thing about Lucky Charms, or the thing about a lot of these kids cereals that you love, is the marshmallows. That's like the big thing, right? And normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys talk to me in the comments below, but normally it's an equal ratio, right? The thing that's a turnoff to me, I'll say the first part of this, is that there's not an equal amount of marshmallows to the cereal. But I will say it is very good. I can definitely taste the mocha there. I can definitely taste the coffee. But would this be a cereal I would want to eat every day? To me, it's a little bit sweet. Maybe too sweet for what I like. But I don't know. It's pretty good. And that one was, I said, the caramel, right? So let's take a look. I was looking in here trying to see if there's actually any caffeine, and I do not see that on here. Naturally and artificially flavored. There's coffee concentrate is the only thing I've seen, but I don't see anything in here that actually says, oh yeah, there's caffeine in this thing. But it's pretty cool. It tells you the Dunkin' Donuts history on the back of the box. There's a lot of stuff in here. It has about 33 grams of carbs per 1 1/3 cup is the serving size. There's about 13 servings in here. 1.5 grams of fat. Practically no fiber. A lot of sugar. And that's about it. So, that one... Wait a second. That was the caramel, right? I gotta try this again because I don't know why I was saying I taste mocha, but I taste caramel. I apologize. Um, I do taste caramel, but it's very dark. It's very more coffee caramely. I think it's pretty good. Let's try the mocha now. Same thing. We got to add a little bit, well, mostly milk. I will say this too. The other thing I'm kind of trying when I tried that last one, it's already getting a little soggy. So just keep that in mind. You know, all cereals get soggy. A little bit of cream, of course. But, you know, good cereals, right? They take a little bit longer to get soggy, maybe. I don't know. You cereal connoisseurs out there, school me on some of this stuff. Because I'm just here for you eating cereal, coffee flavored cereal. Okay, let's see if this tastes like a mocha. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's actually good. Both these are really good. They're good enough that I can't really put them down. So I don't need a lot of sugar. So that's one of the things too. Um, the mocha definitely tastes like mocha. The caramel definitely tastes like caramel. I don't know why I was thinking this is mocha. They're both actually visually very dark. So you would think the caramel might be like a lighter color, but it's actually not. So it's kind of confusing even looking at them. I took both bags out and I looked at them. You have to really kind of study them to see which one's actually the difference. Different. I gotta say, I probably like the caramel better. The mocha is very, very good. It's very rich in that chocolatey flavor. It reminds me of what was the chocolate cereal with the Dracula on it? Cocoa Puffs or something. I don't know. It reminds me of that. Probably Cocoa Puffs, right? You guys tell me. Reminds me a lot like that. My biggest complaint so far with the cereal, it's good, but my biggest complaint is there's not enough marshmallows in it. So Duncan, add more marshmallows to it, and it would make it so much better. It'd make it more like a latte or a macchiato. Whatever you're trying to do, I think you need to add more of the creamy marshmallows than just the coffee and flavor. But that's just me. You guys, if you guys want to try these, go to your local store. They're going to have them out at your local store. Dunkin Caramel Macchiato. I was not paid to review these. I'm just giving you guys my honest opinion. And Mocha Latte. Buy both. They were pretty cheap, pretty inexpensive. Buy both. Give them to your kids. Tell them they're having coffee for breakfast. See what they say. This one too, there's a coffee concentrate. I don't see anything in here about caffeine. So this cereal, you're going to have a good old cup of coffee as well. Which is okay by me. All right. My beard clean. Okay, so let's go over some news. Let's check out what are we going to talk about today in the news world. Well, I found this article talking about 11 major mistakes that you are making with your coffee pot. And I think for the most part, pretty much all 11 I agree with. Really, there's one that I don't agree with, which is at the very end. And you'll understand why when I get to it. But let's go over this. So, there's 11 major coffee mistakes that you do when you're making your coffee. The first one is not cleaning the coffee pot daily. Now, I will tell you, this is very, very true. If you have one of these, it doesn't really matter even what kind of coffee pot you have. You want to make sure the thing is clean. And I don't think you have to clean it daily. I think you need to rinse it daily. But you might want to clean it once a week or a couple times a week with some soap and water. If you can take out the filter, if the filter is removable, that is mostly ideal. But typically, what I do even is I make sure that I can, even if I take one of the cheap coffee pots that we've reviewed in the past, I take one of those, run it under the sink, get it cleaned out after every time I brew it. And that's going to do several things. But first and foremost, it's definitely going to make sure that the coffee pot is clean. Number 2, mistake. And sorry, I always try to get this thing to work right. But number 2, mistake, forgetting to descale internal parts quarterly. I do agree with that. You can use vinegar. You can get any kind of good descale. Bed Bath & Beyond is one of my favorite places to buy descale locally that you can get. World Market, I believe, also sells descale. And then, of course, now grocery stores, Walmart, they all have some kind of descale. But the better ones I actually find at Bed Bath & Beyond. They have more of the Italian Premier Espresso cleaners and things like that you can get there. And there's one of those typically in your area. And then, of course, Amazon. Go on Amazon if all else fails, and you can get something pretty quick. You can also use, in most cases, you see vinegar in this picture here. You can normally use white vinegar, white distilled vinegar, and you can use something like that. The biggest problem people have supposedly with vinegar is if you leave it in the machine or you leave it in your pot too long, the plastics and stuff, it used to be the plastics and stuff would absorb that vinegar, and then you're left with that vinegary smell. But to be honest with you, I haven't really ever experienced that. And I normally use white vinegar on a lot of different things just because it's a good sanitizer and cleaner. So yes, quarterly. If you use your machine a lot, I would say quarterly. Here at Hot Shots, we do this almost pretty much monthly. We go through our machines and descale, do a proper descale when we're really, really busy. And, but I would say quarterly, at least every, 6 months. I would say if you're someone that doesn't do coffee every single day, it's probably good to do that. And it also depends on how hard your water is where you live. If you're here in the Dallas Metroplex or North Dallas, Texas probably in general, you probably want to do it every quarter just because your machine's going to last longer and you're going to get proper taste out of your coffee. Another mistake, not using the freshest, cleanest water. I've talked about this on the YouTube channel for several times. Matter of fact, if you guys remember, we even talked about this on my review of all the different standard waters you can get at the store. And does water really make a difference in coffee? If you've watched that video, if you haven't, go back, go out and search that. Go on my site. You'll see me sitting in front of I think I'm sitting in a inner tube or something with a unicorn. But click on that video and you'll find out how much water really does or does not make a difference. I'm not going to say more than that. You guys go out, check the video out. But that will give you an answer. Regardless, though, you should be using the cleanest, freshest water that you can for taste and for descaling. Make sure that it will help keep your scaling down. Number 4, mistake, buying large amounts of ground coffee. So the reason why this is bad is because when you buy ground coffee, already ground, you're not getting the freshest coffee. Most of the time that coffee, when it's whole bean, is a lot better, even though it's probably been sitting on the store counter or shelf for probably, a couple months, if not a month, by the time you get it. So, think about that. And sometimes it's even longer than that because I was reading about how it was even a lot longer based on when you get it all looked at, if that makes sense. So anyways, when you get to use it. So, sorry, I was kind of sidetracked here. Ground coffee. Get the ground coffee if you can. Grind your beans. And this is kind of the same thing. Grinding your beans too far in advance. Wow, this thing really just sucks. I'm sorry, but this thing, I'm trying to scroll down and it just does not let me do that. Okay, 6, skimping on the coffee grounds. Kind of the same thing. If you can buy coffee, buy a whole bean. That's going to be the freshest, and then grind it yourself. Get a good grinder, grind it yourself, and then really go from there and figure out what is going to be best. Sorry, there's someone outside. I'm trying to figure out what they want. I don't know what it is about Fridays. People want to do my lawn. People want to come in the morning and knock on my door. But I digress. I feel like I talk about this every time we do this show. And it's the only time I've ever seen anybody out from my house. So, anyways, mistake 7, brewing at the wrong temperature. 195 to 205. You guys need to make sure you know that, because no matter what you're doing, and even if you want to check your equipment, anything that you buy, if you've seen some of my other videos, I always check even the cheapest machines I've bought and purchased. They all pretty much check out around this number, which is very, very good. I'm actually surprised when I see that. But a lot of people, my mother, a lot of times when she makes coffee, she just boils the water and then she's ready to pour. And that's not the way you want to do it. Now, how much of an effect does it make? That might be a good video for me to try, because I always like to see, baristas will tell you anything. But then it comes down to, what does it really, how much of an impact does it really make? And I will say, a lot of times what these baristas are selling you guys on and telling you about is not really that enough for you to even know, unless you're some kind of crazy connoisseur, which most of us are not. We just enjoy a good cup of coffee. So, mistake 8, employing the wrong filter. Okay, well, that's pretty common sense. You need to get a filter that meets with whatever you're using. Mistake number 9, following the same formula, even if you're unhappy with your cup. Okay, now this makes a lot of sense too. You want to basically, follow a formula. If it says so much weight, I always start with what the bag tells me to do. Regardless of how I drink my coffee or put it together, the best bet is always start with the bag, whatever the instructions are on the bag of the coffee that you purchase, and then go from there. Because when you start with the bag of coffee, it gives you kind of a good basis of what the roasters, when they did that coffee, what they expect it to taste like. And then from there, you can add more coffee. You can take some coffee away. So think about it that way as well. And then lastly, mistake 11, using a single cup brewer. And it just amazes me, because still in this day and age, when everything's becoming more and more automatic, a lot of these baristas just add so much hate for the ones that use pods and capsules. Pods and capsules, I'm going to promise you, I'm going to tell you guys, pods and capsules are actually still a good way to get a good cup of coffee. Okay. And it can be a lot cheaper sometimes. Now, if you're grinding beans and doing all that stuff, that's great. Yes, it can be a lot better, and that can even be a lot cheaper. But, think about it in the long run too. If you have to go run to work, and if you have to grind beans and you get this setup where you have to do all this, which was one of the mistakes in here, make sure you get the right coffee machine or coffee, whatever you're doing with your coffee maker. Get the right one that best meets what your needs are. If you don't, then you're going to find out that you're going to be going back to Starbucks or your coffee shop, especially if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get this because I want to do pour-overs in the morning before I go to work. You might not have that much time. For you, a capsule system or whatever might be great. An espresso, Keurig, whatever fits your boat, whatever fits your fancy, as they say, go for it. Don't worry so much what other people say. I will tell you, because we use a lot, pretty much we've always used a cartridge system in our business. The quality of these coffees are coming up so fast. Nespresso was really in the American market to really show you that. We've been using capsules even before Nespresso even existed. And the quality has always been, to be honest with you, better than even Nespresso, as you've heard me talk about before. But, so don't let that hold you back, and don't think that just because you're drinking a Keurig, you're having the worst coffee in the world. If that barista is having a bad day, or that barista, you're going there at 5 o'clock at night and they're ready to go home, the coffee might not be much better than your Keurig cup, to be honest. So that was the news. Wanted to go over that. I saw that. I thought it was pretty interesting. Something for you guys to think about. I like to always kind of refresh and give you guys, say, hey, if you're not descaling, you need to be descaling. If you're not using the freshest water, use the freshest water. These are kind of the basics to making coffee. And a lot of people just don't do it. And that's fine. As long as you're happy with your coffee, that's great. But if you want to have great tasting coffee and you want your machines to last long, if you're trying to protect an investment, you got to follow these kind of steps just to make sure everything works out. So the other thing I was going to talk about, by the way, guys, down here, right here, you can follow us on all the other social media if you're watching this. I'd love for you to follow us on TikTok. If you haven't joined us, you're watching me on Facebook, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Hot Shots Catering. Everything you can search Hot Shots Catering, and you will pull us up pretty much on any social media platform. So if you like the content and you're enjoying this, then please follow along with me. We'd really appreciate it. I'd really appreciate it. So I actually posted yesterday a secret. And, this year is going into becoming our busiest year yet. And that being said, our busiest year, maybe not so much with corporate events and conventions, but I will tell you, we have just been going gangbusters, as they say, booking brides for weddings going on for 2020 and then going into 2021. And so I said yesterday, I have a secret about how I'm doing this and how we are booking so many brides and how we are doing things. And so I want to share that secret with you guys pretty much right now. The very, very first thing I will tell you is it's not really a secret at all. It's actually something that you should know already. But since COVID has happened and everything else has been going on, I feel like a lot of you guys out there have kind of taken this mindset and putting it in the back. And unfortunately, and I'm with everyone out there, but unfortunately, what happens is when we get stressed and we're business owners and, we do these type of things, we put money before our customers. And I personally, everything I'm going to tell you is my own personal opinion on how we run our business here. I've been very successful in our business, and I really believe that this is partly why we're becoming more and more successful every year, as well as being very, very successful in our industry right now during this whole COVID crisis. And so the very first thing I'm going to tell you is honesty. You need to be honest with your customers, okay? When your client, when your wedding bride or what have you comes in, you need to tell them fully, transparently about what you're doing during this COVID crisis and give them, every option possible up front so that they know. Tell them everything about what you're doing up front so that they know how they can plan their wedding with you. And so that's the very first thing. That's the very first thing we do when we do our tastings is I sit down with the bride and we start talking. And now I can tell you it's so common that the bride will talk about it first, bring it up first, even before I do. And then since you guys know I'm actually getting married here in less than a month now, it's something that has been an easy conversation to have, and it has been something that is important because I'm seeing this on my end, and that's partly why I wanted to talk about this today and kind of share the secret. The second part of the secret, besides honesty, is I really personally feel, like I said, this is my opinion, and this is going against the grain, I feel, of the wedding event industry. And this is more for the wedding event industry than the corporate industry or convention. So if you guys are watching for that side of the information, this is a little bit different. But since we're booking so many weddings and everything right now, really what it comes down to is Cancellations. We have a cancellation policy in our contract. We've had it in there forever. And I'll be honest with you, when we do weddings, we normally get, when we do any event, all the events that we do a year, normally I get one cancellation a year. And that cancellation that comes out of that year is normally a bride. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that from the standpoint that I really think that reflects on how we here at Hot Shots, how we do things for our brides and for our clients, is that we put them first before getting a paycheck from them, if that makes sense. And that's what I think a lot of people right now in the wedding industry primarily are really missing. And so to kind of keep you guys up to date, catch you guys up, is so we've been kind of planning our wedding here, and we now are kind of rethinking some things here due to really the COVID crisis and really what's happened within the last month in our state here at Texas, mask mandate, and that's caused some other mandates to come out. So we're still working through the process here, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But what I do want to say is the process of canceling vendors, the process of other brides and me sitting down and talking to brides and what their biggest struggles are right now is the fear of cancellation and the fear of not being able to have their dream wedding. And I really, really, really feel bad for these brides and the whole families, because in the industry, it sounds like most people are saying, no, we need to stick to our guns as a business. We need to stick to our guns. We have a cancellation policy, and 2020 is no different than any other year. And I will tell you, if you go down that route and you continue to go down that route, I don't think it's going to work best for you in the future. That's my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. But I can tell you too that I think that's going to hold you back more with booking brides right now. And I think that's also going to hold you back as a business for booking things in the future and working with people in the future. And so I've talked to a few people. We've unfortunately tried to cancel some things. The first and foremost thing, as you know, I've talked about is don't cancel with any vendors that you have if you can. Okay. But things have happened, and things will happen with your brides out there to where they're going to have to make a decision, and it's not going to be always in the vendor's favor. And most of you guys have already figured that out, and most of you guys already know that. But I'm going to tell you that it's not going to help you if you're in the industry and you're talking to someone and you're getting married, let's say, like I am, and your vendors are saying, well, we can't cancel, and then we're going to charge you a fee to move the date on top of that. Me as a vendor and someone in the industry, I don't want to work with that vendor. I don't want to work with you if that's how you treat your customer, if that's how you treat your wedding client, especially in 2020. You know, it hurts more in 2020 because to me, the whole reason why I got into this business, to be honest, and I was talking with someone else about this yesterday, to be honest, we make a lot more money doing corporate events and doing conventions. So I've actually really tried to stay away from weddings for the most part, and not really stay away, but you know, we don't market much to weddings. It's a market that isn't big for us financially. But where I love and why I got into this, even before I was ever engaged or anything, really comes down to the first wedding I ever did. It was that there was a young lady out there that really, really loved coffee, and she really, really wanted a gourmet coffee experience, and we could give it to her. And we did that. She wrote a very heartfelt letter, and that's something I don't get from a lot of my other, commercial clients, conventions, things like that. And, this was something that I said, we want to be for the ones that really want to have a gourmet coffee experience for their weddings. And so ever since then, that's what we do. And that's most of the clientele that we get. We get the people, the girls and the guys, the couples in Dallas, and all over the U.S. that really want to have this gourmet coffee experience for their wedding. It's important to them. And then we also get some that are for primarily people who are non-alcoholic, stuff like that. But the ones that we love to work with are the ones that have really said, this is what we want for our wedding. And we're the experts. So people hire us to do this. And like I said, for me, it's more of an emotional thing that I want to help these girls have their dream wedding. And, for me, just being curious, why did you get into the wedding world? Why did you get into this wedding industry? If it wasn't for that, I just don't understand. If it's just for money, which makes me feel like a lot of people out there right now, if you're charging fees for moving dates and you're charging fees for canceling or holding that money back and you physically have not done anything, I would have some harsher words to say right now, but to be honest, I just don't think that's ethical. And I think, it's not necessarily all your fault, whoever out there is watching this. I think it could also be the fact that you're just stressed right now. And I said this from the very beginning. The people that do that, personally, I feel a lot of times are people who are not secure in their business. They are so afraid that they're not going to make it in 2020 that they have to keep everything possible. And realistically, what is $100 going to do for you? Or $400, $500, $1,000? What is that going to do for you in the big scope of things? If you're not making the same amount of money you were making last year, what is it really going to do for you? And that's where I come in and I say, listen, this is going to hurt you more than it's going to probably help you. And so my secret to you is to really rethink that policy of really hurting brides, hurting other vendors. Because when you do this too, I will tell you, you actually hurt other vendors. For instance, our experience right now, we have a vendor that's unfortunately trying to hold on to financial money. And then we have to look elsewhere, and we have to look to other vendors who are more like us, who say, hey, you know what? We'll move your date. We'll do whatever you want. We want to be there for you. We want to be the premier experience for your wedding. We want to make your dream happen. And, when you're that vendor, you're the vendor. When they're not getting their money from the other vendor, they're coming to those vendors. And I just feel like a lot of you vendors out there, we've even told, a couple of us are obviously in the wedding industry, and we've told these vendors, hey, if you do this, we're not going to recommend you. We're not going to support you. Matter of fact, we're going to tell all of our brides that we don't support you, that we would never book with you again. Because you have this policy that's really not for the bride. It's really not to help these couples and their families. It's for you to help yourself to a little bit of money during this time of need. And this isn't anybody's fault. This isn't your fault. But this also isn't the bride and groom's fault. This also isn't the family's fault. I think a lot of us in this industry, instead of going after these couples and trying to get money out of them, what we should be doing, and I wish someone in this industry, I have not seen it yet, but I really wish someone in this wedding industry would start going up and go after the people in Congress and go after the people that are really keeping us hold down from doing our jobs right now. And that's who I think that you guys should focus your time and heart into. Don't focus it on your customers. Your customers are not the people who are guilty and have a problem. So that's my secret. And my question for this week, and I'm going to end on this, but my question for this week for you guys is why did you get into the wedding industry? I'm just curious. I mean, for me, I told you why I got into it. I got into it because when we do these weddings, I have an emotional connection to these brides and the grooms and the couples getting married and putting something together. But I'm curious why a lot of you guys out there who are running a wedding business, and especially if you're doing these cancellation policies and really sticking to these contracts that you have during this time, I'm curious, why are you in this business? I just want to know why. And that's not a negative thing. I'm just curious. I mean, is it all about the money, or is it partially about helping a bride? And does that help a bride? So I think that's pretty much all I need to say. This is tough times for everybody right now. I know that, and I knew this was going to happen. I've talked about this before. Is it comes down to an ethical thing, and your ethics really come into play when stuff like this happens. And if you are a professional, in my opinion, if you're a professional business owner, you should be following your ethics. Stay true to what's in your heart and let that speak louder than money. Let that speak for your customers and your clients. And if you do that, I will promise you it will pay you back in dividends. And you can go out and you can look at a lot of these people out there that are talking. Look at what the other professionals would do, and just think about that. But it's just a shame. It's heartbreaking. I've had all these tastings that we've been doing, and I've been talking to these brides and grooms that are there, and these couples, and it really comes down to a lot of them have been taken advantage during this time. And to me, it really, really disgusts me. And now I'm even seeing it in my own wedding, and that really hurts, especially when we're in this industry too. So, it's a shame, but that's all I'm going to say on it. I hope you guys have a great Friday today. That's my secret. If you guys want to do better, you want to close more deals, you want to do something, be honest with your customer and rethink this policy of cancellations and charging for rescheduling. Unless you have something you're paying for, something you're doing, why are you charging people for a reschedule? I don't get it. But anyways, hope you guys have a great Friday. And, we're all going to get through this, but let's just think about how we get through it. All right. See you guys next time.